Please help me to reach 1,000 subscribers. The first crack didn't sound like glass breaking. It sounded like laughter. Her laughter, bright, careless, cut through the living room while I stood at the sink, rinsing a glass that didn't need rinsing. I could hear our friends gathered around the coffee table, the clink of bottles, the low hum of music I'd put on to make the night feel easy, normal, safe. Then she said it. Please, she laughed, waving her hand. If I wanted to leave, I'd have men lined up tomorrow. The room erupted. Someone whistled. Someone else said, "Damn." My hands froze under the running water. I waited for the punchline, waited for her to glance at me, to soften it with a smile, to make it a joke that landed wrong. She didn't. Instead, she kept going. I mean, come on. My DMs are a mess. Half of them are married, which is honestly pathetic. More laughter. Someone glanced toward the kitchen, toward me, and then quickly looked away. My chest tightened, not with anger at first, but with something worse, recognition. A quiet, sinking feeling like my body knew something my mind had been avoiding. I turned off the tap and stared at my reflection in the dark window. I looked normal, calm, married. I walked back into the living room just as she lifted her glass and added, almost proudly, "Men are so easy." She finally noticed me then. Our eyes met. For a split second, something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe even guilt, but it vanished fast. She smiled at me like nothing had happened. That was the moment everything shifted. The signs had been there long before that night. I just didn't want to assemble them into something real. She had started guarding her phone like it was a second skin. If I walked into a room, the screen went dark. If a message came in, she angled it away from me. Thumb moving fast, face unreadable. Missed calls became normal. "Sorry, I was busy," she'd say, already changing the subject. Late nights turned into work drinks. Work drinks turned into crashing at Sarah's. I told myself I was paranoid. I told myself this was what trust looked like, choosing not to interrogate the person you loved. But trust, I was learning, shouldn't feel like swallowing glass. After the party, once the door closed behind our last guest, the house fell into an awkward quiet. Empty bottles sat on the table. The air smelled like beer and perfume. She kicked off her heels. "Why were you so quiet tonight?" she asked lightly. I shrugged. "Just tired." She studied me for a moment, then nodded like she'd already decided my answer didn't matter. She went to bed without another word. I stayed up, sitting in the dark, replaying her laughter in my head. Men lined up tomorrow. That night sleep wouldn't come. At 2:17 a.m., her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once. Twice. She didn't move. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure it would wake her. I stared at the phone like it might explode. I didn't touch it. Not then. I still wanted to be the man who trusted his wife. The next few days were torture. Every memory felt contaminated. Compliments she brushed off. Trips she'd insisted on taking alone. The way she'd stopped asking about my day. On Thursday, she left her phone on the kitchen counter when she rushed into the shower. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. I knew that whatever I saw or didn't see would change everything. Picked it up. No lock. That alone hurt more than I expected. The messages were already open. "Can't stop thinking about last night. You looked unreal. Next time, no excuses." My hand shook as I scrolled. There wasn't just one thread. There were several. Different names. Different tones. Some flirtatious. Some intimate. Some painfully casual, like this was a routine she'd perfected. And then I saw the photos. Nothing explicit enough to be illegal. Just enough to be undeniable. The bathroom fan hummed while the world quietly fell apart. I set the phone down exactly where it had been and sat at the table, staring at the wood grain like it might offer answers. When she came out, towel around her hair, she stopped short. "What's wrong?" she asked. I looked up at her. The woman I'd married, the woman who knew how I took my coffee, who cried at old movies, who once told me I was her safe place. "Who's Mark?" I asked softly. Her face went blank. "Why?" she said too quickly. "Do you know a Mark?" I nodded toward the counter. "Your phone does." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. She opened her mouth, closed it, then sighed like someone caught doing something mildly inconvenient. "It's not what you think," she said. I laughed. A short broken sound. That line? That's what you're going with. She sat down across from me, arms crossed. Defensive. I didn't plan for it to happen. How many times? I asked. She hesitated. That hesitation was louder than any confession. The confrontation didn't explode. It eroded. She admitted to some things, downplayed others, claimed she never meant to hurt me, said she felt unseen, desired, alive. I never stopped loving you, she said, tears finally forming. I just wanted more. I listened numb, while memories replayed in my head like evidence in a trial. Our anniversary dinner she'd rushed through. The way she'd smiled at her phone instead of at me. I realized something then. The woman bragging in front of our friends hadn't slipped. She'd been telling the truth. The next weekend we hosted another gathering. Same friends. Same room. This time when the conversation drifted and someone joked about relationships, she laughed again. Lighter now, almost nervous. I stood up. I should probably say something, I said calmly. The room stilled. I looked at her, then at our friends. Since honesty seems to be the theme, when she says men line up for her, she's not exaggerating. I've seen the messages, the photos, the plans. Her face drained of color. I'm not sharing this to embarrass her, I continued. I'm sharing it because I won't be part of a joke that only works if I stay silent. No one laughed this time. She whispered my name, but I was already grabbing my keys. I left that night, not in a blaze of rage, but in a quiet reclaiming of myself. The weeks after were brutal. Grief came in waves. Some days I missed her laugh. Other days I remembered how it sounded at the party, and the longing vanished. I learned that love doesn't survive contempt. That trust, once broken, doesn't shatter loudly, it dissolves. The last time we spoke, she said she wished she could take it all back. I told her I wished she'd stopped before she needed to. Now, when I think of that night, I don't hear her laughter anymore. I hear the sound of a door closing, and the first breath I took on the other side.